All right, it is time for episode 24, the football season finale of Believe Me. I'm Joe Ceraulo alongside in the flesh, Brandon Lang, for the first time this season, man. It's so great to be with you.
I'm announcing my new nickname on the Believe Podcast Network here at Radio Row.
Oh, God.
My official new nickname is Joey Guns.
You can't even get it out. If you're wondering where the Pro Bowl quarterback Kordell Stewart is, he couldn't be here at Radio Row with us in the flesh. So Kordell will be joining us remotely as the episode progresses. But Brandon, it's so great to see you, man. This is our annual family reunion here at Radio Row ahead of the Super Bowl. This makes it 6 straight for us, including the one in Tampa that no one went to, but you and I were at.
We were there.
Man, isn't Radio Row just the best part of the NFL season?
I will say this about this Radio Row. This is my 8th Radio Row.
Okay.
We had Frisco, Houston,
and then I joined you in Minneapolis,
Minnesota, then Atlanta, then Miami, then Tampa, then LA, and here we are, number 8.
59 with a memory like that. Wow.
59 with a memory like that. 60 at the end of the month for all you kids out there. Get in the gym and you'll be okay. Here's the deal. Of those 7 Radio Rows, there's more talent at this Radio Row than any we've been at so far. And next year, it's in my town in Vegas.
Oh, baby.
And I'm here to tell you, if you come to town and you're hanging with B. Lang, it's Star Trek. Star Trek all week. We will go where no man has gone before. Cue up Spot and Captain Kirk. Love you, babe.
Lang special. Let's get into it. Mahomes, the high ankle sprain. We talked about QB props. We talked about rushing props last week. We all seem to like Mahomes over 18.5, now 19.5 rushing yards. But how concerned are you about that high ankle sprain?
This reminds me a lot of the Tampa Super Bowl.
Oh.
If you remember that 2 years ago, he had the turf toe. And everybody talked about how with 2 weeks to prepare, he was going to be fine. The turf toe wasn't going to affect him. Mm-hmm. And it did. Well, here we are, another Super Bowl, another ridiculous defensive line, and a high ankle sprain. He was gimping around in the game against Cincinnati. There's no getting around that. He was gimping around. Yes, he manned up and made the one scramble he had to make, but that was more or less Hubbard, which I alluded to on the podcast last week.
Yep.
Hubbard going 3 steps up, 5 steps up, setting the edge. Mahomes moved up in the pocket. Hubbard should have just stayed there. He didn't. He moved up with him, and Patrick said, thank you very much, and got around him. And, of course, everything else that happened after that. The ankle's going to be a problem. I don't care what anybody says. He's not going to be 100%. And against this defensive line, you've got to be 100%. He wasn't against Tampa. They overwhelmed this Chiefs offensive line. Go watch the fourth quarter of the Bengals AFC Championship game. Twice the Chiefs had the ball at the 40-yard line and could not move the football because the D-line of the Bengals overpowered the O-line of the Chiefs, which was tired and worn out. Good luck against this Philly D-line. I think Mahomes, that line's in trouble.
Kordell, you're the Pro Bowl quarterback. You know a thing or two about using your feet in addition to your arm to win games. I want your take on that Mahomes high ankle sprain.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've had the opportunity to see Patrick Mahomes, as I like to call him sometimes, right? We've had the opportunity to see Patrick Mahomes play banged up. As of late, we've seen him with his ankle sprain, and he's been able to produce in ways that not too many quarterbacks can when having that type of injury, considering how he makes his plays off schedule better than most, right? The angles in which he has to throw the ball, placements that he need to have when it comes to completing those balls. It has everything to do with the strength of his arm. It has nothing literally to do with his feet. Because from a quote-unquote catawampus standpoint, meaning off balance, no stability, if you will, when it comes to releasing the ball, he kind of, he throws all those rules and everything out of the window when it comes to releasing the ball and understanding what it takes to get it to his playmakers or the receivers or even flipping it, if you will, to the running back when having a tremendous amount of pressure and can't get his body turned to really get the ball out of his hand the right way. So Patrick Mahomes doesn't bother me too much when it comes down to it. It really doesn't bother me when it comes to his ankle being an issue, it being an ankle. It's going to be because of a lot of the pressure, getting him off his soft spot and making him have to run more probably than he wants to.
All right, flipping it over, looking at the other quarterback in this one, Jalen Hurts, the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that shoulder injury is more of a problem than people are letting on. Everything is Mahomes, the ankle, the high ankle sprain. Brandon, what do you think about Jalen Hurts and his shoulder ailment coming into Super Bowl 57?
Yes, he missed Brown on the go route, overthrew him by 10 yards.
Missed a few throws in that San Fran game, man.
Missed a few. But a quarterback's best friend is a run game. That's his best friend. And he will have a run game on Sunday. They will not be able to stop the Philadelphia run game. The Niners had the best run defense in the NFL. I don't want to hear about all the stuff that happened offensively in the Niner game with the quarterbacks and this guy and that guy. They still were healthy on defense. I didn't see any defensive players running off and doing something bad. They were healthy. They ran for 144, probably could have ran for 200 if they wanted to, but with a 3-touchdown lead, they basically just ran out the clock. The Chiefs have been better against the run, but they've not faced an RPO and a run game like this. I believe Hurts will be better. I believe Hurts is going to have a game. And I believe Jalen Hurts, who is 9-0 against winning teams this year and 16-1 as a starter this year, I think JH is going to be fine.
That's high praise. Kordell, what do you think about Hurts? We got your take on Mahomes and the ankle sprain. What do you think about Jalen Hurts and that shoulder? This might be the first time this postseason where he has to air it out in tight, maybe uncomfortable situations in a close game. Philly's had 2 blowouts. What do you think, Mr. Stewart?
No, I don't think Jalen Hurts' shoulder is going to be a problem. We know he didn't have the most prolific passing display in this last game in the NFC Championship game. More times than not, that game is going to be the toughest game to play in. Whether you're going to turn the ball over too much or you're not going to play as cleanly as you may have in all the other games leading up to the Conference Championship game. The good thing about this for Jalen Hurts is he can do whatever he wants to do. He had more time off this go around. You know, he took a couple games off after the injury against the Chicago Bears on the road to then all of a sudden having to come back. And it wasn't the best games. I mean, we saw him come back against the Giants. Coach Daboll, we got to remember, he was a part of the offense, the head coach there with the Giants, who was a part of the offense there in Alabama with Jalen Hurts. So to see that game be one way, it looked like he struggled a little bit. I don't look at that one. This last game in the NFC Championship game against the number 1 defense in the National Football League, I think did their part to where it wasn't going to be his arm that was going to do it alone, which we've seen him do a lot of this season, being able to throw the football extremely well from the pocket, whether it's from the pocket, on the run, scrambling, making plays on the move, to even scrambling, making plays with his feet. There's not too much he can't do. So, yes, this last game wasn't the best display, but it was enough to help his team get into playing in this game, which is the Super Bowl. I don't see his shoulder being a problem. He's a physical player. He plays with a tremendous amount of tenacity. I don't think that's going to hinder him one way or another. I think they'll know going into this game if he's capable of making certain throws. And I mean accurately. Not can he throw it, but do it accurately like we've seen him do before the actual injury. But trust me, they're going to do everything they can to get him right, shoot him up, vitamins, rub downs, massages, things of that nature, ice, heat, everything to make sure that shoulder is loose enough to be able to go out and play the way they need him to play in order to win this game against a higher-powered offense like they have on the other side, knowing that there may be a chance where they're going to have to actually put in the air a little bit more than they want to, possibly. But, you don't want to be behind the 8 ball of not knowing for sure if you can do it or not. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to be just fine when it comes down to what he's going to be able to do, whether it's with his feet or even his arm.
All right, Brandon, after all, this is a betting show. You're a betting guru. Let's get into some picks, some prop bets. We did the QB props last week. We all love Jalen Hurts over 31.5 passing attempts. We did the rushing prop, not for any running backs last week, but for Patty Mahomes to go over that 18.5, now 19.5 mark. I still think he's going to break the 20-yard mark on the ground. What about receiving props? Travis Kelce, he's got the highest total of anyone at 78.5. But the guy goes over 90 yards almost every playoff game. His mom's in the crowd. His brother's on the other sideline. Is Travis Kelce the receiving number to go over? Or do you like one of these other numbers ahead of us? You know, A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith. What do you think, B-Lang?
I think Travis Kelce is going under the total.
Ooh.
I believe they are going to take him out of the game. And I believe they're going to force one of these other guys to beat them. This is a better secondary than they have faced this year.
Yeah.
I love Devonta Smith over the total. I think Spagnuolo is going to try to take A.J. Brown out of it. I think Devonta is going to have a monster game.
I love that call.
I also think Miles Sanders out of the backfield. I love him over the total as well. I think the backs out of the backfield against the linebackers of KC can be had. I like Miles Sanders over the total, but I'm telling you, I believe Devonta Smith, just like in the national championship game against Ohio State, I think he is going to have a game on Sunday.
That's over 64.5 yards for Devonta Smith. And Brandon, I agree with that one entirely. I think what you said is perfect. I think that they're going to try to take A.J. Brown out of the game. They're going to double him. They're going to prevent him from going deep. And Devonta Smith is the guy. You just have to get the ball in his hands. It doesn't matter if you throw it 30 yards down the field or if you throw a quick out. He's got blazing speed, man. I think that 64.5 number is a win. But I like Kelce over the 78.5 yard mark. I mean, like I said, he goes for over 90 almost every playoff game he's been paired with Patrick Mahomes. That's
you're allowed to disagree.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. And I want to know what Kordell thinks too. But before we do that, I want to know who you think on this sheet right here in front of us is going to get in the end zone. Sorry, let me fix that. That was a crappy put down on my end. Travis Kelce, look, he's got the worst odds to get a touchdown, but I'm hammering it. Minus 130. Now, if you shop around, you can get minus 120. You can see as bad as minus 140. But I just, again, don't think there's any way Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes' favorite target, doesn't get in the end zone. B-Lang, who gets in the end zone?
Completely agree with you.
So you under yards, but he scores.
But he scores. Okay. That I agree with you. Gainwell. Kenneth Gainwell plus 375.
Oh, my goodness.
I think my boy is going to score, which also goes in to B-Lang's favorite prop bet of the entire Super Bowl.
Here we go.
I'm going to look right into the camera right now. If I could get some queued up Twilight Zone music right now.
I don't think we do that.
We can. We need it. Kenneth Gainwell ran for 47 yards in the NFC Championship game against the Niners. His over-under yards in the Super Bowl is 19 and a half. Bet your children's unborn children's children on Kenneth Gainwell over 19 and a half rushing yards. Booyah.
So you don't think that Gainwell's big yardage against San Francisco came as a result of that game being a blowout? You think Gainwell is going to get meaningful carries?
Absolutely.
And it's bound to be a tight game against Kansas City?
Absolutely, because I don't think it's a tight game. I don't think it's a tight game.
Before we go there, Kordell, I got to know who's getting in the end zone. We're going to toss it to Kordell on that note because we still have a few minutes to go on Believe Me, and I don't want any spoilers just yet. Mr. Stewart, who gets in the end zone Super Bowl Sunday?
Wow, that's a good question. Who do I see? Guaranteed touchdown. I mean, you got on one side, what do you have? A.J. Brown, he has 1,400 yards receiving, 1,496 yards, 88 receptions. You got Travis Kelce, what is he? 110 receptions on the year for 1,300 yards. That's 1,338. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to go with Travis Kelce. I'm going to slide him into being the guarantee guy, because this is why I say this. So fill me on this, guys. I know you want to get excited over there and you want to have a couple things to say, but you're going to listen to me first. We've seen more times than not there'd be opportunities to catch those 5-6 yard pass routes, those double moves, those down the seams. And the thing you find out that's most intriguing, especially when it comes to the tight end position, because you can have a receiver play and have him out of position to actually have a chance to catch a touchdown, right? Unless you just throw a layup pass over the middle, on a fade route where you can out jump, the DB. I don't foresee that happening, but I've seen it happen before. But I think Travis Kelce, if they don't double cover Travis Kelce, and there's one-on-one matchups, which I'm going to assume at some point in time, there will be a one-on-one matchup. If I had to say, if there's a one-on-one matchup between Travis Kelce and any one of the linebackers or secondary players, if there's 8 one-on-one matchups, Travis is going to win at least 5 of those. I'm going to give him 5 one-on-one matchups, maybe more. I'm being nice because I got to remember there's a defender on the other side. And I don't want to disrespect the defensive players on that side of the football, but Travis Kelce is a Hall of Famer. Let's be transparent. There's no debate. There's no conversation. There's no, did you hear what he says? Yes, you heard what I said. Travis Kelce is a Hall of Fame tight end. And the things that he's been able to do, regardless of what situations they're in, he's always found ways and knacks to get the ball to either put them in position to score, let alone to score. And he's gotten in the end zone a tremendous amount of times. If there's a player that I'm going to depend on getting in, yes. Okay. I'm going with Travis Kelce. That's my guy.
Now you know who Kordell thinks is going to score in Super Bowl 57. Kordell, I'm going to go back to you on this one. Who do you think wins and ultimately covers? The spread's 1.5. Who do you think wins Super Bowl 57 in Glendale, the home of the Arizona Cardinals, this Sunday?
Who am I going to pick this game? Boy, this is going to be a rough one. I mean, what we do know is we have the number 1 defense going against the number 1 pass offense. One, I'm going with Philly. I just think they have the most balance across the board. Starting with their defense, producing 70 sacks on the year. Secondary has a knack for the ball. They find ways to confuse you, but the push, like I said, at one time when Ndamukong Suh and Fletcher Cox, it's just something that you can't run from. And it's going to be hard to deny the push from that defense. We had a chance in the NFC Championship game. We had a chance to see San Fran, whose defense was titled as number 1, go against Philly's defense that's been playing like they're number 1. And who ended up prevailing in that? I mean, knocked 2 quarterbacks, knocked both quarterbacks out of the game. I'm going with Philly, and particularly on offense, they have balance. They can do whatever they want to do. They're not handicapped in no way, shape, form, or fashion on what they can do from a range standpoint. I know most may say, we need to see Jalen Hurts be a little bit more cerebral in the pocket. Foolishness. I'm not buying it. The guys played very well this year. Arguably the MVP of the National Football League, barring him even missing a couple games. But I think that team is primed and ready to prove a point why we've seen them play so good for this past season. Jalen Hurts has come in his own. So for me, with the ability to move, make plays down the field, throwing it with AJ and Brother Smith on the other side, I'm looking to see Philly get it done.
There's the pick from the pro, but I want the pick from the betting pro. Brandon Lang. You know him from 2 for the Money. Matthew McConaughey played this guy in a movie. I know, it's every man's dream. You know him from BrandonLang.com. He gives out nothing but winners most of the time. Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong. 20-5 the last 25 Super Bowls?
25-5.
25-5 the last 30.
I was 23-5. I was 25-3 going into the KC Tampa Super Bowl. The Super Bowl I had lost before that was Denver Seattle.
I remember that before we even met.
And then I won 6 in a row, going into that one, going for 7 in a row. And I got fooled that Andy Reid, the fat man, who hasn't missed a meal since Christ came back 2,000 years ago, would have his offensive line protected to have and handle that Tampa Bay pass rush. Instead, Andy, whose son killed someone off the freeway,
Ooh.
and they said it was a distraction. We're throwing out something here that was already out there. He seemed distracted.
Yeah.
Go back to the Philadelphia, New England Super Bowl. He had the better team. Got out-coached there. The Niners-Chiefs Super Bowl. He didn't do a great job coaching there. Chris Jones bailed him out. And then he got out-coached in the Tampa Super Bowl. Number one pass offense versus the number one pass defense. It happened twice. Tampa's number one pass defense drilled Oakland and Rich Gannon. Seattle's number one pass defense drilled Peyton Manning in Denver, which, by the way, was the last Super Bowl I lost before Andy fooled me against Tampa Bay.
Real quick note here, because tonight is the night of the NFL honors. We're taping this on Thursday, as we do every Thursday. Rich Gannon in 02, MVP. Peyton Manning in that Super Bowl, Denver-Seattle, was the MVP. We all know who it's going to be. Patrick Mahomes will be the MVP.
Yeah.
Floor
so
is
the
yours.
bottom line is this. I don't trust Andy Reid. I don't trust anybody who's banned from every buffet in Vegas. I just don't. I just don't trust him. At the end of the day, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you. You won't fool me a third time. Better D-line, better O-line, better team. Jalen Hurts is 9-0 straight up versus winning teams this year. He's 16-1 overall straight up for the year. He does not turn the ball over. I believe only 4 turnovers the entire year. Am I correct?
I'd have to stat check you on that.
Okay. I trust the
that.
Philadelphia Eagles. They have been the best team in the NFL all year long, and they will get it done in this game here. Lay the 1.5. Fly, Eagles, fly. The Philadelphia Eagles are your 2022-2023 Super Bowl champions.
So I think the number you were looking at is he is 4th in the league in interceptions thrown with just 6 of them.
There you go.
On the season. That's
Okay.
INTs. That's not counting putting the ball on the ground, which he hasn't done
There you go.
very much of at all.
Unreal.
Brandon, last year, I think, was the first time we disagreed on a Super Bowl since we met each other. Minneapolis, we were both on the Eagles. Atlanta, we were both on the Patriots. Miami, we were both on the Chiefs. Tampa Bay, we were both on the Chiefs. Both lost. Last year, since I met you, I've covered 5 Super Bowls. I'm 4-1 against the spread. I had the Bengals plus 4.5. I tried telling you, take the Bengals. This year, I'm telling you, take the Chiefs.
Okay.
Take Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback who, when things are said and done, will be up there with the likes of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. He's going to be a top 3 quarterback of all time. He is trying to make this Chiefs team a dynasty, and 1 and 2 in 3 Super Bowls will not cut it in terms of being dynastic. Patrick Mahomes is not going to lose another Super Bowl. He's not going to make the same mistake twice. He's got a better offensive line than he did against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going with the Chiefs, Brandon.
You are going down, baby. Fly, Eagles, fly.
That does it for a hell of a football season, believe me. For Kordell Stewart, for Brandon Lang, I'm Joe Ceraulo. Enjoy the Super Bowl.